There is something in us that is wiser than our head. Pantheism is only a polite form of atheism. Always to see the general in the particular is the very foundation of genius. A pessimist is an optimist in full possession of the facts. The tallest oak tree once was an acorn that any pig could have swallowed.
A high degree of intellect tends to make a man unsocial. The person who writes for fools is always sure of a large audience. It is difficult to find happiness within oneself. All truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. The majority of men are not capable of thinking, but only of believing, and are not accessible to reason, but only to authority. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom, for it is only when he is alone that he is really free. We can regard our life as a uselessly disturbing episode in the blissful repose of nothingness. The fruits of Christianity were religious wars, butcheries, crusades, inquisitions, extermination of the natives of America, and the introduction of African slaves in their place. Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. We seldom think of what we have but always of what we lack. Therefore, rather than grateful, we are bitter. If we suspect that a man is lying, we should pretend to believe him, for then he becomes bold and assured, lies more vigorously, and is unmasked. Marrying means to grasp blindfolded into a sack hoping to find out an eel out of an assembly of snakes. The universe is a dream dreamed by a single dreamer where all the dream characters dream too. Education perverts the mind since we are directly opposing the natural development of our mind by obtaining ideas first and observations last. This is why so few men of learning have such sound common sense as is quite common among the illiterate. The shortness of life, so often lamented, may be the best thing about it. Any foolish boy can stamp on a beetle, but all the professors in the world cannot make a beetle. What a man is contributes much more to his happiness than what he has or how he is regarded by others. What people commonly call fate is mostly their own stupidity. The deep pain that is felt at the death of every friendly soul arises from the feeling that there is in every individual something which is inexpressible, peculiar to him alone, and is, therefore, absolutely and irretrievably lost. To overcome difficulties is to experience the full delight of existence. Religion is the masterpiece of the art of animal training, for it trains people as to how they shall think. The more unintelligent a man is, the less mysterious existence seems to him. Consider the Quran. This wretched book was sufficient to start a world religion, to satisfy the metaphysical need of countless millions for 1200 years, to become the basis of their morality and of a remarkable contempt for death, and also to inspire them to bloody wars and the most extensive conquests. In this book we find the saddest and poorest form of the ism. Much may be lost in translation, but I have not been able to discover in it one single idea of value. You are free to do what you want, but you are not free to want what you want. Thus, the task is not so much to see what no one yet has seen, but to think what nobody yet has thought about that which everybody sees. When you look back on your life, it looks as though it were a plot, but when you are into it, it's a mess, just one surprise after another. Then, later, you see it was perfect. The greatest of follies is to sacrifice health for any other kind of happiness. Men are the devils of the earth, and the animals are its tormented souls. After your death you will be what you were before your birth. The greatest wisdom is to make the enjoyment of the present the supreme object of life, because that is the only reality, all else being merely the play of thought. On the other hand, such a course might just as well be called the greatest folly, for that which in the next moment exists no more, and vanishes utterly, like a dream, can never be worth a serious effort. Life is full of troubles and vexations, that one must either rise above it by means of corrected thoughts, or leave it. Mostly it is loss which teaches us about the worth of things. Man is never happy, but spends his whole life in striving after something which he thinks will make him so. Do not shorten the morning by getting up late, or waste it in unworthy occupations or in talk. Look upon it as the quintessence of life, as to a certain extent sacred. Evening is like old age, we are languid, talkative, silly. Each day is a little life, every waking and rising a little birth, every fresh morning a little youth, every going to rest and sleep a little death. We will gradually become indifferent to what goes on in the minds of other people when we acquire a knowledge of the superficial nature of their thoughts, the narrowness of their views and of the number of their errors. Whoever attaches a lot of value to the opinions of others pays them too much honor. Truth is no harlot who throws her arms round the neck of him who does not desire her. On the contrary, she is so coy a beauty that even the man who sacrifices everything to her can still not be certain of her favors. The real meaning of persona is a mask, such as actors were accustomed to wear on the ancient stage, and it is quite true that no one shows himself as he is, but wears his mask and plays his part. Indeed, the whole of our social arrangements may be likened to a perpetual comedy, and this is why a man who is worth anything finds society so insipid, while a blockhead is quite at home in it. The safest way of not being very miserable is not to expect to be very happy. The assumption that animals are without rights, and the illusion that our treatment of them has no moral significance, is a positively outrageous example of Western crudity and barbarity. Universal compassion is the only guarantee of morality. Genius and madness have something in common, both live in a world that is different from that which exists for everyone else. Man is the only animal who causes pain to others with no other object than wanting to do so.